Yo, you already know who the fuck it is. Asha, Renu, we back in this bitch. Today I want to speak on the spirit of the Vampiri. The history of the Vampiri, or otherwise known as a vampire. What is the Vampiri, and what does it have to do with us in today's times? See, the image or the idea of what the Vampiri is in today's times is different from the ancient context. In today's times, or modern times, the Vampiri is known to be a bloodsucker, with the fangs, the teeth, all these things, like a he-wolf or a she-wolf. However, on the ancestral aspect of things, or the ancestral view or the ancestral perspective, the Vampiri did not suck blood. They instead absorbed the chi of their victims. Sometimes men, sometimes women, sometimes children. Now, most of the time, the Vampiri are feared, are very dangerous, are very volatile because they teach you the true essence of hunger. A lot of people, would like to work with the spirits of the Vampiri. Specifically, spirits such as Pumbagira, and I will speak about her in further detail on the website, which is dealing with the spirit of the Vampiri. Why does the spirit of the Vampiri absorb the chi of its victims? And what type of chi? So it's not just any type of chi. You got the positive and you got the negative. Specifically, the Vampiri absorbs the yang or the masculine aspect of chi or energy. Why is that? Because most of the time, they have an abundance of yin, or you can say spiritual or feminine energy. So in order for them to balance their pH levels, so to speak, they have to absorb the yang or the yang. Sometimes they call it yang, yang, just all depends on how you want to pronounce the word. Nonetheless, so once we understand that the Vampiri absorbed yang energy, had nothing to do with blood, where did this whole blood sucking theory or idea comes from? This comes from Dracula. Dracula was released in 1897, which was the 19th century. And of course, if you've been following this channel, you know that I speak highly about the 19th century in terms of the occult and occult information. That's where a lot of the occult information has its origins, besides the 15th century with John Dee, or the 15th or the 16th century with John Dee. But once you go to the 19th century, you get into people like Aleister Crowley, Helena Blavatsky, so on and so forth, the Elijah Muhammad's, I'm just trying to name people right off the dome. The guy that wrote the autobiography of the yogi, I have a hard time pronouncing his name, but you just research that book, everybody should know what that is. A lot of these groundbreakers or innovators or trailblazers were birthed in the 19th century, which is why that's such an important aspect to study if you are a student of the occult and the metaphysical and the mystic. Nonetheless, let's get back to the Vampiri. The Vampiri are older spirits. So, whenever we're dealing with the older spirits, meaning spirits from before religion dominated the earth. So these spirits were pushed out, and the religious figures and symbols were brought in. So anything that was pushed out, of course, will be demonized. So this is why the vampire or the Vampiri has the imagery as well as the energy that it has, which is, to be feared and to truly understand what hunger represents. So let me go into that briefly. What I mean by the spirit of hunger, because whenever you work with a vampire or a Vampiri, the spirit of the Vampiri is very hungry and it's very volatile. Because it's hungry, it gives you a thirst from within, and it makes you hungry. It makes you truly feel how a vampire will feel, craving the yang energy. So therefore, whenever you work with the spirits of the Vampiri, you already know what they want. So therefore, We have an abundance of this energy. So we already know how the negotiation should be set up for those who actually work with the spirits. Now, what does this have to do with us now? What it has to do with us now is as we are entering the energy of Sagittarius, which is the energy of the philosopher is constantly seeking the philosopher's stone, which is otherwise known as the elixir of life, turning lead into gold. What does this mean? The Vampiri are known as immortals. So whenever you see zombies, the undead, these are spirits of the Vampiri. We'll get deeper into that later on. This is more so just an introduction, like a part 2 to the 666, the bitch frequency that I did back in 2016, where I spoke about more so just the nature of the women who embody the spirit of the Vampiri. You can see it within a woman if you have the eyes to see. You can see it. They don't necessarily have to tell you. It ain't really that you got to pick up on the vibes. You literally can see it with your eyes if you got to develop your seership. So nonetheless, the spirit of the Vampiri in the time of the Sagittarius, we're going into the Sagittarius from the mystic. So we're going from the mystic to the philosopher. So we seeped into the underworld. Now we're coming out of the underworld. And now we have something to speak about. Now we have something to contemplate on. The philosopher has journeyed into the underworld and now contemplates on his secrets and his mysteries. And the secrets and the mysteries of the Vampiri infusing that energy, that ancient ancestral energy, into your auric field. I'm not going to say it's the key to success, but there's such thing as a skeleton key, which is, ancient words, which is like a master key. To possess the skeleton's key is to possess the master key. So what does the skeleton key and the master key have to do with us now? Because the Vampiri were known to reanimate dead corpses. So this is going to, of course, one of the 7 forbidden arts of necromancy, or the dark arts. And we'll speak more about the dark arts on the website, because it can get very graphic. Obviously, you're dealing with, blood magic, and magic of chi and prana, and utilizing the masculine aspects of it versus the feminine aspects of it. But we'll get into further details later. But this is just to outline what the Vampiri are, the historical reference, meaning they were absorbing chi before the blood sucking came about. And that came about in the 19th century. Why did that come about in the 19th century? Because they were heavily involved in the occult. And the Vampiri always looks for an invitation. So the Vampiri are not necessarily violent spirits. They know how to sit back and be invited into a person's auric field. Why? Because most of the time they are shapeshifters, so they appear as beautiful women, as women that are very seductive. So most of the time they are invited in, and through the course of sex magic, they absorb the young energy from the masculine victim. Therefore, whenever we're dealing with, the spirit of the Pamigira, or the prostitute, or the harlot, which you can notice, you don't ever have to speak to these people, but you know who they are. You can see it if you know what you're looking for. That's just how powerful the energy is. The energy is so powerful that you know who and what that person is about without having to speak and without having to analyze their energy. You don't have to do any of that. It's clearly seen with the eyes. This is true science. Versus you have to ask somebody what their religion is: Christian, Muslim, Judaism, so on and so forth. But when you can see with your eyes who the person is without ever having to converse with them, then you know they are truly walking in the spirit of the Vampiri. And that'll be all for now.